Rush Limbaugh is also jumping into the fray. In fact, Rush is taking credit for the campaign's sharpened personal attacks. Let me play again Governor Romney's surrogate and former New Hampshire Governor John Sununu, what he said on Fox News yesterday, and then listen to Limbaugh.
He has no idea how the American system functions, and we shouldn't be surprised about that, because he spent his early years in Hawaii smoking something, spent the next set of years in Indonesia, and another set of years in Indonesia, and frankly, when he came to the U.S., he worked as a community organizer, which is a socialized structure, and then got into politics in Chicago.
I think Sununu has been appointed with the task of going out and performing the duties that I am suggesting need to happen. Because he's smoking something in Hawaii. He's doing it. Never had a paycheck. Chicago politics. The only thing he left out was that Obama's been mentored, educated, bent, and shaped by a bunch of communists.
Let me bring in our News Nation political panel, Democratic strategist Margie Omero. We also have with us Politico Money and Politics reporter Abby Phillip and conservative radio show host Steve Deace. We haven't seen Steve in a while, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. Right off the top here, Steve, what do you take out of this Rush Limbaugh claiming that the Romney campaign is following the path he's laid ahead?
Well, I think I'm going to be alongside a lot of conservatives around the country. I'm just tickled pink, literally, to see the Romney campaign finally go after Obama as hard as it's gone after conservatives in primaries in the last two presidential cycles. So if nothing else, at least we got him to at least fight back against the Obama campaign.
For our audience who are not aware, you're a conservative. You're no fan of Mitt Romney. In fact, you've taken great pride in the fact that you helped him be defeated in your home state of Ohio when he ran for president before. With all of that said, you believe that this fight that conservatives like yourself have been wanting has been brought to the table in a way that can win the White House?
I do. I think, in fact, it's probably the only chance Romney has to win the White House. And that is he's got to show the country that he presents a vision dramatically different from what they're currently seeing. Otherwise, people like the president personally more, and people will go with the devil they know. Now, of course, Romney presenting that case calls into question Romney's credibility, because some of the very crony capitalism that he's rightfully criticizing the president for, he's been guilty of, and Republicans have been guilty of in the past. And so what we really have, and I've told you guys this for months here on this campaign, I think it's a replay of 2004, where I disagree with conservatives, as I do not believe this election is a referendum on Obama. I think that referendum's already been held. I think the majority of the American people are either somewhere from skeptical to hostile to giving Obama another 4 years. I think the rest of this election now is a referendum on Romney. I think he has to close the sale just as John Kerry did in 2004 and failed to do.
There was a conservative on Fox News just yesterday who said that if the race was today that Romney would lose. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. He's got, in the end, everything he's saying about Obama, I agree with, but he still needs to give the country, what will you do instead? And I think people get suspicious when he doesn't offer specifics, Tamron, because you're talking about a guy that was a global billionaire financier, and the idea that he was able to raise capital and make so much money and be so successful in business without offering people specifics, people realize that's not the case. So he still needs to provide the country with what is his actual vision beyond, isn't Obama very bad?
Let me bring in Margie here. Margie, I think some people will find this perplexing, at least the argument that Steve is presenting, and that we know that President Obama, as well as Governor Romney, will need independent voters to come to their side. And when you have Rush Limbaugh on his program basically bragging that John Sununu and Governor Romney are taking a page from his playbook of bringing up drug use and all of these other things that have nothing to do with jobs. When you talk with Romney's surrogates, they say, well, we don't want to talk about the tax issue because it has nothing to do with jobs. So what does this strategy do in bringing over independents here?
It's the last thing that Mitt Romney needs right now. And Steve's comments really show one of the underlying liabilities of the Romney campaign is they can't get enthusiasm with the far right without some of these incendiary, without this hot rhetoric. And they can't win over independents with it. So that puts the Romney campaign in a bind. And on top of that, you have the main argument they have as part of this release of tax returns discussion about what he's hiding and coming clean about his time at Bain is stop talking about me. Don't pick on me, right? Don't be negative by bringing up what I like to bring up about my own record. That's Mitt Romney's response to this. But when you have John Sununu using this incredibly heated rhetoric that independent voters that I talk to really hate, then that takes away that argument. They're now actually going personal as opposed to having a real debate about the issues of each candidate's record. They're now going personal and inflammatory without actually talking about the issues voters care about.
But to be fair here, Marge, you have some people who are pointing to this new ad from the DNC that shows Ann Romney's horse that will be competing in the Olympics with dressage, pointing to Mitt Romney dancing around, showing the public his tax returns or more of his tax returns. Is that getting as dirty as you are accusing the conservatives and the Republicans of being in the Romney campaign?
I think calling the president a socialist is different than showing an image of a horse. I don't think that the web video is going to really move a lot of swing voters. And ultimately, that web video is not about the horse. The web video is about Mitt Romney's tap dance about releasing his own tax returns and how he really doesn't want to come clean.
Let me bring you in on the conversation. Abby, you have a lot of theories out there as to why Governor Romney does not want to release his tax return. And I cannot point enough that Steve Deace is one of the conservatives who believes that he should put out more of his returns. But Abby, at least one report indicates that it is possible that with his losses with the stock market that Governor Romney may have escaped paying taxes at all here. We do not know if this is what happened here, but part of the storyline belongs to him. How do you piece together the puzzle if he does not, if it's a document dump or if it's just one page at a time, provide this information?
Yeah, I think that this is actually Romney's argument himself, that he believes that this could be a black hole for the Obama campaign, something that the campaign and Democratic allies will dig into indefinitely. And I think that he's actually right about that. On the other hand, what Romney's facing right now is friendly fire, and that is probably one of the most dangerous things for him. When he has Republicans wondering what's in his tax returns, that's a huge problem, and he's got to address that. And the only way to address that really is to do something about the inquiries, release something, maybe 1 year, additional year, maybe another additional year. That will satisfy conservatives, even if it never satisfies Democrats.
Let me bring Steve back in. The Obama team tweeted out a pretty funny tweet here. If it wasn't such a serious issue, I guess it would be funny, Steve. They show President Obama has released 12 years of his tax returns. Governor Romney won, and they say they call it the transparency tweet. You see all the checks going across for how many years. The president has released his returns and what Governor Romney has provided. What I find perplexing, Steve, is that you're saying here you are excited to see Governor Romney give the fight to President Obama that he's given to conservatives, but you don't think he can win here. The National Review says in all likelihood Romney won't be able to maintain a position that looks secretive, and his departure, basically they go on to say that he needs to release these returns. So what is the upshot for Republicans here? You don't think the guy can win. Is it that you just want to see him fight?
Well, we think the only way he can win is by fighting and offering a direction and a vision for the country dramatically different than what we're currently getting. And that's why this tax issue hurts him, because he's not running on any issues. He's running on, gee, Obama sucks, and I've made a bunch of money in business. Well, if you're going to run on biography, well, then people are going to take a look at your biography. And part of that biography are your tax returns. Plus, let's just face this. I mean, this is a fact. Romney doesn't have a lot of friends in the conservative movement. Let's look at Rick Perry, for example, who came out yesterday and said that, hey, Romney needs to release these records. Well, remember that Mitt Romney did everything he could to slit Rick Perry's his throat, the minute he got into this race, those first few debates. There's no love lost there. Rick Perry's not going to carry any water for Mitt Romney, and the conservative movement's not going to carry any water for Mitt Romney, because he's done nothing but, frankly, try to rip and destroy many of their candidates in the last 2 election cycles. And so this is why Mitt Romney's not going to get some of the political cover that, say, a George W. Bush got in the past. And you're seeing that in some of the analysis that conservatives are giving of the Romney campaign. We're being far more honest about Romney than we ever were about Bush. But there's an easy out here, I think, for Romney. If I were the Romney campaign, I'd simply say, listen, if you want a paper trail into my life, I will release my paper trail when the president releases his. Where's his college transcripts? Where's all the transparency about what he did before he was in the Illinois State Assembly? When he puts that stuff out there, I'll put my stuff out there.
Margie, I'll let you get in on this, but Steve, you believe that is a fair equation here. On one breath, you say that Governor Romney needs to be more transparent. He is running for the highest office in this country. The American people need to know more about his tax returns. And you are saying this. I mean, I am not saying this is what you're saying. But you want to flip the corner and then bring up the president's college transcript. That's that's
the reason why is because I don't
those
really.
Things are equal here.
Well, the reason why is because I frankly don't trust. I think this whole thing about his tax returns, I think for Democrats, is a red herring. And this is really about transparency. The people ought to ask the President of the United States to be more transparent.
Margie, let me bring you in here.
This has been the most transparent president we've had in decades. Mitt Romney's own father started this tradition by releasing 12 years himself. Mitt Romney releases less than previous candidates before him. And he runs on his record on Bain. And you don't see Barack Obama running on his college transcripts as his main and only qualification to be president. When you see Mitt Romney talk about his record at Bain rather than his record as governor of Massachusetts, because he was 47th in the country in job creation and even said, hey, it takes a while for jobs to be created. He himself has done many of the things that he actually accuses the president of having. And it's completely legitimate to have this conversation about what's he hiding and why can't he be consistent?
I don't disagree with that.
Why can't he get his story straight?
I don't disagree with it. I just think it works both ways. I mean, the American people got a president, and 4 years ago, they elected somebody that went further left than they thought, and I think they're entitled to find out, hey, why has this guy driven the country so far left despite all the polling that is for the president? You're going too far. What drives him? What motivates him?
But, Steve, you've also said that you are worried that Governor Romney will be further left than you would like here and other conservatives. So I don't know what bowl you're drinking from, to be quite honest here, because you are also threatened in many ways by Governor Romney and the presidency that Governor Romney would provide to conservatives. So you don't like either here.
No, I don't, but you're asking me two different questions. One's my personal opinion, and the other is, what would I do if I were running the Romney campaign just from a pure strategy standpoint? I think those are two totally different things. That's what I'm responding to. Well, they kind of blend
together, because that's why we have you on. Part of you, of course, is your personal opinion, which you always love to give. So come on. Thank you both. I appreciate it. Abby, thank you as well.
Thank you.